Okay, hello everybody. Welcome. My name is Lainey Rose and I'm the events manager here at City Bookshop. It's wonderful to be with you all today, both in person and virtually if you're tuning in that way. We always have something on the calendar here, and upcoming we have two very exciting debut fiction novel events. On the 12th, we'll be hosting an event for Murder Bimbo by Rebecca Novak, which is a twisty story of a sex worker turned political assassin on the run. Very excited. February 18th, we'll be hosting Every Happiness by Rena Shaw, that explores the ties that bind two women across decades and continents despite rivalry, class difference, and the conflicting needs of family and self. All the information about our upcoming events and our 14 different book clubs can be found on our website. Before we get to tonight's event, some housekeeping details. Number one, if you could take a moment to silence your cell phones, we would appreciate that. Number two, if you need a restroom, it's upstairs past the cash registers and the greeting cards. Number three, we will have time for questions tonight for both in-person and virtual attendees, so even if you're watching via Zoom, you can participate. Please put those questions in the Q&A feature so we can see them and can ask on your behalf. And finally, most importantly, you've already heard me say this, books are available for purchase upstairs. They are not on our shelves down here, and they can be purchased prior to the signing line. And now the reason we're here. In 5 Years meets a millennial Joy Luck Club in the adult debut from the author of YA Reese's Pick Throwback. One and Only is a funny and fresh love story of a woman thrown a curveball by fate and the family secret that will make her question everything. Cassia Park knows Cassia Park knows what her happily ever after looks like, and it's not him. Cassia will have to decide if she'll follow her fate or make her own. Our author of the evening is Maurene Goo, who is the author of several acclaimed and award-winning books for young adults. Several of her young adult novels are in development for film, and her books have been translated into 12 languages. She also writes screen, games, and comics. She writes and lives in Los Angeles with her husband, son, and 2 cats. One and Only is her adult debut. And joining us in conversation tonight is Laura Hankin, who is the author of One Star Romance and several other titles. Her original screenplay, Don't Say Good Luck, starring Sunny Sandler and Melanie Linsky, will premiere in Netflix in 2026. She lives in Washington, D.C., where she once fell off a treadmill twice in one day. And now please join me in welcoming our authors of the evening. Give a big old round of applause. And keep that applause going. Don't let it drop. Don't let it drop. Keep it going. There we go.
Hi, sorry, we started late because of me.
DC traffic is
I guess I just never think other cities have traffic. Because I'm like, I'm from LA, so it'll be so much faster. But it's, I didn't think about your snow situation, so. I mean, I'm wearing these shoes, like, ridiculous.
we were talking about the contrast in our shoes.
Oh, well, thank you. And I have blisters as well, so.
Well, I am so excited that you made it through the snow to be here, because should I turn my mic on? That would be helpful.
Is mine on?
Okay, great. Because I love this book, genuinely. I think, it is such a gloomy, dark time, and this book is just like the shot of joy and light and love that we need, but also, as it's very fun and swoony, it's complicated, it's like dealing with big questions. It is not formulaic at all.
Wow, music to my ears.
Yeah, well, it's hard, when you're writing a romance.
Yes.
The formula is established because the formula is good.
Yeah.
But this one, there's a love triangle, and I was genuinely torn. There's so many good things about it, and I'm not the only person who thinks so, clearly, because it's a book of the month pick and a read with Jenna pick.
Yay.
So how are you doing in the midst of all this?
I am actually doing well. Like, once I show up to the bookstores, I'm like, oh, okay, like, I feel energized, but I am very tired, people. I am very, very tired. I'm like, when did I last sleep? I don't even know.
Well, because you flew out from LA and then had to be on the Today Show at 6 a.m.?
Okay, so let me just, this is going to be like humble brag. I was at the Grammys, and then I got home from the Grammys, and I slept for 3 hours, and I had a 4-something a.m. pickup. Flew to New York, and then had my New York launch 2 hours after I landed, and then I hung out with my friends from grad school who came to my New York launch, and we went out for a drink. So then I got to my hotel at 11 p.m., packed up, got to bed at 1:30 a.m. and then woke up for the Today Show this morning. But it's like my body's just like, you're awake. There's no time to be like cozy in my bed. I'm just ready to go because I'm like running on panic. So, but it's been so nice now that today's the actual release day. So, it's been a flurry of online and like readers, and it's just been a long journey. So I have to keep reminding myself to like take a moment and like appreciate it. And obviously the book events are my favorite part, when I can actually talk to humans about this book that I've been quietly working on alone for, how it is.
I do.
And you're like, is anyone gonna read this book?
Right. And you're like, I spend more time talking to imaginary characters than to people.
Oh my God. And you read your own book 1 million times.
Mm-hmm.
You read your book so many times when you write a book. It's like, it's actually a form of torture, I think.
It is a miracle when there are still parts that you're like, that's good. Because for the most part, you're like, why would anybody ever write this?
I always kind of read it with one eye, like, okay, I'm doing like a final read. But then you read something and you're like, oh, this book is actually good.
Yeah. Well, speaking of this good book, can you tell us a little bit about it and what inspired you to write it?
So One and Only is about a woman named Cassia Park, who is from a long line of matchmakers. It runs in her family. It's a family business, and the secret to their success is that they can peek into people's past lives, and in their past lives they find their like past loves / soulmates, but they call them fateds. And she has known who her fated is for like a decade, but for some reason she cannot find him. And on the eve of her 40th birthday, she's like, well, I met this 28-year-old cute guy. I'll just have a fling with him. Might as well. And then she meets his boss, and his boss is the guy she's been waiting for. So, shenanigans ensue. Shenanigans and some like, deeper, meaningful reflections on what she actually believes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a mix. A very good mix. And how did you come up with this idea?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I knew I wanted to write. I wasn't sure if I wanted to write a romance or, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted my first adult novel to be, but I knew that it would have a romance in it regardless, because that's just why even bother writing a book, right? And so I was like, okay. And I, was thinking of, well, maybe she'll be like 30. It's just like where my mind goes because of all the books out there. But I had a friend who's also an author, and she had just finished reading a rom-com of some sort. And she was like, oh my God, I just don't ever want to read about a 25-year-old again. Where are the books about 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds? And I was like, oh, like that's what I need to write that, because, I'm in my 40s, and I'm married, but I have so many girlfriends that are single that are around my age, and I just feel like they are not represented correctly in romantic novels. If there's a 40-year-old protagonist, it's like, oh my God, she's been divorced and is harried and like a hot mess. Like, she's lucky a man will even look at her. It's like, I have a ketchup stain on my sweats. I'm like, pull yourself together. Just because you're 40, my God. Or it's like, I'm a sad like spinster lady, and if I have an age gap romance, I'm going to be insecure the whole time. I was just thinking about how my friends who are single in their 40s have their lives together, are very confident, have very fulfilling lives, and a romance would just enhance it. Some of them are like, yeah, I would like to have a family, so maybe I should like get married or find somebody, or have a baby on my own. They're like at these crossroads at the moment. And that's another thing. I feel like nowadays women don't think about needing to have a kid by the time of 35, and so the options are a little more. I don't know if there's more options, or if it's just more. It's more flexible, And so I really wanted to write a story about a 40-year-old who could have a flexible outlook on what she wants her future to be like, and she's not hemmed in by all these societal notions. And then I really did want a bit of magic sprinkled in. My last novel was a YA novel called Throwback, which was a time travel book, but it wasn't like a hardcore sci-fi novel. It was just set in the 90s, but it was like the magic was very like hand wavy, and I really love adding a little bit of magic to contemporary novels. And so yeah, I really love Rebecca Searle, who blurbed this book. She's like one of my good friends, and I love her books, and she's always got a little magic in her books. And so I thought, okay, I'm gonna do that too. And I was literally getting a massage because my back hurts and I have to get massages all the time. And I was like, okay, think of a book idea. I was like, so, God, I
You
have
can't
to
even just relax during a massage.
I can't, because I'm like, this is like when an idea will come to me, right? I'm like, okay, get into that like weird space of like not really being in your body. You know that feeling where you're like, am I awake? And I thought of it. I thought of the whole book. I was like, oh, she's a matchmaker. Oh, she can see into past lives. Oh, okay, she knew her. Oh, I know. Like it like unfolded once you get that first spark.
Yeah.
That's what always usually happens with me. I like mull and mull and mull, and then suddenly it comes to me like a big old revelation.
Okay, first of all, that is wonderful. And second of all,
Does
I
that
think
happen
this
to you?
means that you can write off your massages on your taxes now.
Oh, wait, you guys, I do. Because my doctor said you have chronic back pain from sitting in your chair all day. And so then I talked to my accountant, and they're like, oh, yes, that counts as it's work related. So not only that, but because I post on Instagram my face and my hair and nails, all of that is also. But that's also because I'm an S corp.
Oh,
You have to make yourself into an S
Yeah,
corp because this
okay.
country cares about corporations and not people.
Yes.
So you know what?
We want our corporations
If
to
Elon
look
Musk
good.
gets those tax cuts, fine. I'm gonna write off my nails. So that was that's how I thought of this book. Honestly, I'm always like,
amazing.
sorry, I was getting a massage and I thought of it.
Oh, it's I don't think I've ever heard an author say that before as their origin story, and I love it.
Because I feel like there's like this idea that ideas come to you like this mystical thing, you know, or like you read some deep you're like doing research at this ancient library, and I'm like, no, I was just getting a massage because my back hurts.
Yeah. Well, I think it's beautiful. You never know when the inspiration will strike.
You never know.
But so, as we have mentioned, there is a love triangle in this book. And without getting too spoilery, I think it's so well done. And I want to ask you all about like how you crafted that. But first, I thought we could do a little rapid fire love triangle game where
Okay.
I read off some famous love triangles from pop culture and you tell me who you would choose.
Okay, I am ready. Okay.
You can provide explanation
I am
if you
a
want
very
to.
okay.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Are you indecisive? Is that
No, I'm very decisive. However, I'm argumentative, and I'm like, well, it's okay. I'm gonna try
you
to.
should have chosen?
I'm gonna stick to the rules. Yes.
Okay. I mean, feel free to argue with me.
Okay.
The Hunger Games, PETA or Gale?
Okay. Honestly, this is the worst one because they're both like whatever.
What? PETA is whatever?
Yes. Okay. Here's the thing. I do like him more than Gale. I think people who like Gale, I'm like, let's be for real. He is. He's a fine soldier and he's hot and tall.
Yeah.
Don't be swayed by that. Okay.
Yeah. Would he be able to disguise himself in the arena by painting himself to look
No.
like rocks?
And I know with his icing or whatever skills. And then Peeta's that.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, you still have to be hot. I think Peeta is the better choice. The better, like, okay, if you're gonna marry, FMK, he would
Right.
be. Gail would be FNK. I didn't
You're
like,
like a
how, I didn't like
praying
how he
mantis or whatever.
treated people at the end when he was a
Oh, no.
soldier. He
No, no.
became, just we don't need military loving dudes right now.
No.
Yeah.
I agree. All right. Well, what about the summer I turned pretty, Conrad or Jeremiah?
Conrad.
Mhm.
That one's an easy one, even
Yeah.
though Conrad is also, but he's the better choice.
Some of these, it's like maybe the woman needs to also just take some
Yes.
time to like live out her
Yes.
20s and meet
Yes,
some other
perhaps
people.
don't get married when you're like, whatever.
Yeah.
I love Jenny. I love those books.
All right.
And the show is so good.
beautiful. Twilight, Edward or Jacob?
Okay, first see, this is why I started off as a Jacob girly because I was like, everybody, come on, a warm-blooded wolf or a marble feeling stalker.
Yeah.
But I have since, obviously Edward. Obviously.
Okay. You're like, I like stalkers now.
I can't
Yeah.
wait to watch Rob Pattinson's new movie with Zendaya.
Oh, I know. What did
we
she
don't
do?
even know what it's like it's about. It's called The Drama.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait.
I know.
I just love his choices.
Yeah.
I'll like love him forever because of Edward. You know,
Yeah.
I'm in forever.
Yeah.
And he had a baby. I love
great.
him.
Okay. Moving on from like the YA, my best friend's wedding, Cameron Diaz or Julia Roberts.
Okay, this is another one.
People here have opinions. Yeah.
So I am old enough to have watched that when it came out in the theater, and of course everyone's like, "You're supposed to like Julia Roberts." When you watch it now, with my 44-year-old brain, I'm like, "You are horrible. You're the worst." Cameron Diaz, poor thing. Cameron Diaz needs to run. She's 22 or something, or
Yes.
19. She's so young. Remember, she's like, "I have to finish college." I'm like, "Why are you dating this 45-year-old man?" He shouldn't be with either of them. But Cameron Diaz was the more normal choice, even though she was too young. She had her whole life ahead of her. Like,
I know.
nobody needs to.
Well, who knows if the marriage
I make
will
a
last.
joke in this book where she's like, "I was 30. I didn't need to get married. What am I, a child bride?" 'Cause that's how I feel now. I'm like, you don't have to get married.
I know.
Like,
See
you
your
don't have to get married in your
options.
30s.
Okay, challengers, Josh O'Connor or Mike Feist?
I think it's Feist.
Okay.
Josh O'Connor. I'm like such trash for him.
Me too.
He is that guy. He's that guy.
I know, and his
I think
character
you'll
is...
see a through line through, except for PETA. Like, you'll see, you know. It's like we always pick the bad ones.
I know. Like, he's such a mess, but the charisma is undeniable.
I know. He's so hot in that
Yeah,
movie. Oh my
yeah.
God.
Okay.
I saw him at one of
You saw
I saw him at
first?
the Golden Globe stuff.
Oh, my God.
Oh my God.
Did he radiate?
I was like,
Eh.
push my husband aside, like, ah! He's actually very dorky. Like,
Okay.
he's like hunched over, like very shy and kind of like sheepish. Very like, you know, big ears. Which I don't
Oh.
know, makes him more endearing.
I think so.
Yeah.
This is why I like had such a crush on Michael Cera in high school, because I was like, he
did?
could maybe be interested in me.
He'd be lucky.
Oh, thank you.
And Josh O'Connor, I feel like he's such a good actor because seeing him in real life like that versus like that swagger he has in Challengers, you're like, oh, you are like an actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I know we have to get to other questions, but I have three more.
Okay,
we can
we'll
do
that.
them.
Yeah,
we
sorry,
can do them.
I'm
Okay.
taking too long.
Something's got to give. Keanu Reeves or Jack Nicholson.
Oh my God, Keanu
Keanu
Reeves.
Reeves,
Like, please, God. No offense. But then, come on.
Yeah, it's Keanu. Past lives. The childhood friend or the husband.
I am married to a white man. And I really related to that movie. I watched it with my husband. I was like, and he looked at me like, you know, I think that staying with her husband was the right choice.
Mm-hmm.
But I did feel that yearning. I don't think they would have. I think it was very romantic and they had a connection, but I don't think it would have worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like you're in it with the husband now, you know?
Yeah. He did, you know, him playing video games, however, when she went on a date with this other guy, I was like, bro, you need to stop.
Well,
Just stop.
We all have different ways
Yeah.
of coping with emotional
But I love that he
upheaval.
hugged her at the end, and it's just so good.
Okay, last one. Little Women, Lori or Professor
Lori.
Bear, or Joe
Lori.
choosing herself.
No, Laurie.
Yeah.
Christian Bale version, please. No offense to Timothy.
Oh my God, Christian
Timothy
Bale.
was good, but I'm like, have you seen Christian Bale?
He's so handsome in that
Yeah,
movie,
he's
and in
just-
Newsies. Oh, that was my other childhood
Yeah,
crush.
that's like a millennial. Like we imprinted.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay.
Changing gears a little bit. Cassia is able to tell who people's soulmates are. Do you believe in soulmates?
It's so funny that I did not anticipate this question being asked by everybody, and I'm
Oh,
like,
is it?
do I? Again, I don't have a clear answer because I kind of love I'm like a romantic. Obviously, I write these romances, so I love the idea of like a fated love, a fated story, I love prophecies. You know, I love fantasy too. So like, I just love that tingly goosebumps. Like, what a feeling. However, in this book, I was like, it had me interrogating that idea. I'm like, oh, you know, I have Cassia be a little pragmatic because when you're 40, you can't just make fate make a decision for you, and you also can't just date a 28-year-old without thinking about it.
Yeah.
You know? So I don't know if I actually believe in soulmates, but I love the idea of them.
Yeah.
I do believe that like you can have an extremely strong connection and you can attribute it to whatever. So past life, just soulmate.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think there's only one person for everybody. There's just too many people.
I know. Yeah, that's, in a literal sense, I'm like, how could there be just one person out there for, like, how are you supposed to find them? But then at the same time, I'm like, well, if I hadn't met my husband, I never would have married anybody. Like, and I dated a lot of people,
I feel like that too. I'm like, he's the only one I could tolerate actually living with. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't think there's only one person. No way. Yeah.
But I love the way that this book explores that question and this idea of like free will versus fate. And, there's this amazing moment where she's talking to her best friend and she's offering to read her best friend's face and like tell her who her soulmate is. And her best friend is like, don't you dare.
She's married
already.
already.
She's married. Yeah. And just this sense of like, does somebody have to be your soulmate to be like
exactly
a wonderful relationship?
So that's what that was my whole, I really grappled with this ending on my own, and then my editor too. My editor really made me think about it. She's like, what does she actually believe? What is the actual reality?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, like, can it just be open-ended? She's like, no, you have to know what the truth is, but I still think I left things open-ended.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't say there's no such thing as soulmates, and I didn't say there's only your soulmate.
Mm-hmm.
There's something, I think, in between that we landed on.
Basically, it's a great book club.
I don't think I'm giving spoilers by saying that.
There's a lot to discuss here. Yeah, I know. At these book events, it's always so hard because I want to be like, okay, let's talk all the spoilers.
But
and
I
tell
mean,
me
like,
everything.
this conversation is naturally leading to the fact that I really wanted to make a real love triangle that was equal and really actually torturous. And I read, I don't read my reviews, don't worry, but my friend sent me, like, oh, she's so sweet. She's like, okay, I know, like, it's nerve-wracking on release day, so I'm going to send you, like, some of the good reviews I found. I'm like, that's really sweet. And one of them said, like, I was tortured by this, I was actually tortured by this love triangle, and I don't think I ever really read love triangles where you don't have a clear favorite from the beginning. And I'm like, yes, and I had my friends be like, wait a second, they're, because they read early and they're texting me, like, is it blank? Is it blank? And I'm like, I don't know. And then, not everybody has the same favorite guy.
Yeah, I kept going back and forth. Yeah.
They're both hot.
The most important quality in a husband.
She's like, they're both too perfect. Can you please, like, show some flaws? Like, oh, fine.
Okay, I suppose.
Yeah. That'll probably make a more interesting novel.
Well, the romance is so wonderful, but I think part of what also makes this novel special is that beyond the romance, there's also a really great family storyline with Cassia's family, who all run this matchmaking agency with her, and it's complex and it feels very satisfying in its own right. And I'm curious why you wanted to focus on that as well.
I love writing a Korean grandma. I grew up with my grandmas. I was very close to them, and I wrote one in throwback, and she was only in the beginning of the book, and I had a really great response from readers about her relationship with her grandma, and thought, oh, maybe I will explore some more matriarchal. I love the idea of a family business, and I love the idea of like a gift passing through the women in the family. That's how it is in the book. And I also had her orphaned so that she's raised by all these different women, aunts and grandmother figures. And, that's how I grew up. I grew up with a million aunts who were very important to my upbringing. And I also kind of wanted this to reflect the, Korean American immigrant experience, especially in the LA community. I was born and raised in LA. And so I really I love writing families. I do it in all my YA novels too. That was always the thing. When I was writing YA, I would read a ton and I'd be like, where are the families? And I know maybe that's just like not sexy and fun for teens. They're like, we live with our families. We want to escape and pretend like we're like fantasy fairies or whatever. But I would be like, being a teenager, your life is still under full control of your family. Even like the rebellious kids. You can't just do whatever you want. And so I explored a lot of parent and sibling dynamics in my YA novels. And it's just natural for me to still have family in here. And I just really wanted to pack this book with so much detail about this life and this world. So it felt tactile and real and rich, because I read so much romance. I read so many rom-coms, and I love the genre. I love all of them, all different kinds. However, like one thing that kind of turns me off sometimes with a book is when I feel like I'm like, what city are we in even? Do these people have siblings? You know, there's just the romance is so hyper focused that there's not enough world building, in my opinion. And so I really wanted to make sure I had the city be a character, her family be a real, and she has a best friend and her best friend's kids, because I have a kid now, and watching my kid be friends with my single friends without kids is like one of my joys. You know, he has such a good relationship with them. So I really wanted to have her have this big community. And, you know, I didn't want her to be like sad, lonely orphan girl. I wanted her to be like really fulfilled in all parts of her life. And so that when she's approaching this romance, it's truly her choice. It's not, oh my God, I'm so desperate for love, you know. But the reality is she also wonders if she should have a family. And so that's like just a realistic part of being a 40-year-old considering, you know, marriage or choosing a partner. So yeah, I just really love talking about families. It's something that I feel like when I don't put a family in a book, my editor's like, where's the grandma situation, you know? So I'm like, okay,
missing that.
Yeah, it's missing that family. And my next book is also going to have like a big family dynamic, but it'll be very different from this one. That's all I have to say.
Well, I'm excited about it. I feel like you said multiple things in there that lead to other questions that I want to ask you. So talking about, you know, how this relates to your YA books. This is your adult debut. And I am so curious to know, like, why you decided you wanted to write an adult book. And then also, how much did you have to reorient your brain in the process of, like, you know, am I changing my writing style? Or is it just like, I always come up with new characters and these ones happen to be adults?
I did purposely want to write an adult novel. So when Throwback came out, gosh, it was 4 years between my YA novels because of the pandemic and having a kid. And I think that was enough time for me to step away from YA, to kind of look at it from a distance and think, I'm not quite sure if this is like what I want to write right now. And I don't think of writing adult as like graduating from YA. A lot of people are like, oh, are you writing YA until you write the real book? You know, and I'm like,
oh, that's so insulting.
Don't even get me started. The craziest things people say to you when you write YA, it's like, hello, do you hear yourself? Like, that is so rude. There's just kind of this idea that YA is juvenile and like practice, right? It's not how I feel about it. I love writing YA. I think my voice naturally lends itself to YA. I love teenager stuff. I'll always like, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to watch Summer I Turned Pretty. I'm going to watch Heated Rivalry is not YA, but there's like some YA feelings. I just see it right in front of me. So I'm like, Heated Rivalry.
I mean, yeah, I think about it all the time. So.
Yeah, there's a vibe that is kind of YA, but I knew, okay, so let me think. I'm like, I'm reading so much romance and rom-coms ever since 2020. I just want to be happy. Wow, I don't know why. Why do I want to be happy? And so I realized I have been in this world. I have been reading like voraciously, like 50 books a year of, you know, this stuff. So I'm like, why am I not writing these? You know, it's not that far of a leap as far as, you know, genre from my YA. I write rom-coms in YA as well. And so I knew I wanted to leap into adult. And then, you know, for me at first, I was very self-conscious of my writing style. I thought, okay, I don't want this to sound too young, because that's a criticism a lot of YA authors get when we jump to adult. You often see like, this feels like YA, or people still think it's YA, and you're like, this is not YA, it's adult, and you have to like move it at the bookstore. I have a friend, you know, it especially happens with like genre fiction, I think. So I was a little self-conscious at first, but I realized I had to let that go, because the way I write is just how I want to write, right? And so obviously her situations, her specific life is so different, and that was really freeing for me. I loved it. I'm like, oh my God, she has so much, like, she can just like book her own flight and get on a plane. I'm like, she's have to ask her mom or steal a credit card. You know, there's like so much machinations that have to go on when you're like writing about teenagers trying to do anything fun. And then she has amazing clothes because she has her own, like, she has like 3 closets in her own house. And she's like makes enough money, and you know, she's like not self-conscious about her boobs or whatever, like the stuff that teenagers are always like in their heads about. And she drinks so much wine. It was so fun. I'm like, oh my god, she's always drinking wine. There was a point where I did a wine edit because I'm like Control F wine. I'm like, okay, let me make sure I don't have so much wine.
Yeah.
So there's so many pleasures that I was able to sink into. But you know, writing a book is the same for me, like character development, plot, like making the structure super tight. All of the stuff that I do to write a YA novel applied to this. It was just, I was able to, you know, dig into a different kind of character, someone that wasn't discovering herself per se, but somebody who knew herself and was having other things happen. You know, the conflict is in other categories. You know, and as far as like prose and language on that kind of level, I did make it probably a little less voicey than I would for YA, because for me, like what's really fun about YA is I just like really go hard on the voice and make it like very, you know, just light and fun and really like lovable right away. And in this book, I just was a little more restrained with the voice, but she's still like, she's basically if any of my YA characters grew up. You know, it's not that different.
Right.
And also, I'm like, I'm 44. I talk like this, so I'm just gonna write how I talk. Like, and it might seem kind of like somebody trying to sound young. I'm like, no, that's just how I talk.
Yeah.
For better, for worse.
40-somethings exist who are like
We do.
this. Yeah. Well, I think it's time for us to move to audience Q&A. If people have questions. And I can repeat the questions.
Oh,
Or-
yeah. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I know people get shy about this.
I
So,
have
like,
more
okay.
locked and loaded. So, yeah.
So how did you become a Jenna book club pick? Like, how does that work?
The question is, how did you become a Jenna book club pick?
Well, I believe that either your publisher, I think it's your publisher, but maybe it was my agent. You can like submit it for consideration, I believe. So that's what happened with Reese too for Throwback. Throwback was interesting because it got picked a year after it came out. And you know, I'm not going to lie. I think connections are important. Like my agency, they work with Jenna a lot for various other things because Jenna has her own imprint at Penguin. Oh, not Penguin.
It's Penguin.
Is it Penguin? Oh, Putnam's Penguin too, isn't it? I don't know. You know what? All these publishers have merged and done all sorts of things. So it's like they do have a good connection. So I'm sure she looks at the books that they send her. Jenna's been amazing from day one because she also tried to buy this book, and I decided to go with another publisher. So I was like, oh no, there goes all my chance of getting read with Jenna. You know, just. But then she wanted to buy the rights to make it into TV show. She made an offer on that, and then she picked it. So she has been a champion from day one. I love Jenna. Like, I'm like, Jenna, you're my queen. I met her today this morning, and I was like literally about to cry. I'm like, thank you so much. You did? Oh my gosh. I did take the train to DC, and my train was delayed for an hour, and I was like, oh my God, get me there on time. I thought trains were supposed to be on time. Yes, I was there, and then I was like, woof, off to the train station. Yes, that was very fun. I mean, because I didn't have to do anything, just like hand out my books silently. But I got to meet Jenna. She was very sweet. So it was finally, because, you know, she approached me last year at some point about buying the book. So we have been in touch on and off, but, you know, I did not like assume I would get the pick by any means. I was like, well, if, you know, I'm just glad she liked my book. That was really nice of her. And then she did the pick. And so what's nuts is that we heard about, so we know months ahead of time. And I've been sitting on this news for so long, and they picked it, and they picked it for February, right? And we were like, oh, well, the book comes out in June. Oh. So we moved up the pub schedule 4 months early so that we could get the pick, which totally is worth it. But I do think that my publisher already had me on that schedule with that in mind, because because everyone's like, oh no, your deadlines are probably insane. I'm like, they were always insane. And so we're right on track, actually. Like, I finished writing this book last summer, and so, yeah, that's probably TMI, but,
Wait, like 7 months ago, basically? 7 or 8?
Yeah, I knew about this a long time ago.
Wow.
Mhm.
Do you remember the moment you found out?
Yes, I cried. You know what,
Will
though?
you
Because, like,
never
when
forget?
Throwback got the Reese pick, I burst into tears. Like, I was like, oh, because I had never had anything like that before, and Throwback had been out for a year. And anyways, I was so emotional. Like, I was in a weird place. I had quit writing for a bit. I was working for a video game company because I just didn't really want to be an author for a little while. So getting that news then, it was really emotional. And then this, I was like, oh my God, I've been holding out a tiny bit of hope, but like, I didn't want to put all like too much into it. And so, yeah, it's pretty cool. And then I'll actually be on the Today Show to talk with Jenna February 18th or something. Yeah. You do? Oh my gosh. She's awesome. Just so you know, she's actually the best in real life. I'm like, who knew this would be my future?
You can meet your heroes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is your next book going to be in the adult space?
Yes. I have a contract already in place for this one. This is the next book, so yes. Same editor. I'm very excited about it. I have to write it. I told my editor, like, don't ask me about the book until after the book launch. She's like, okay. I'm like, when I get back from tour, please. But I promise I'll get it done. Yeah.
When you got the idea when you were having your massage, how did you go from like thinking of that idea and plotting it out in your head to like, did you run out of the massage and type an outline on your phone, or like how did the process go after that?
When you got your massage and had the idea, how did the process go like next for writing it out and outlining?
I think I let it percolate in my head for a little bit. I'm really bad at remembering to write down ideas. So I use my notes app for everything. And I have been trying to remember to put my ideas in there, but then they end up being these like one-line notes, that I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even know how to search for it. Okay, I should just organize them, obviously, but I don't know. Does anybody have organized notes apps? So I kind of think about it. I just think about it and think about it over and over again. And then if something feels very specific and like, oh, I know exactly what's going to happen, then I will write it down so that I don't forget. And then, it's different for each book. For a while, I got really used to outlining because I was on these crazy deadlines. So I'm like, I just need to like figure out this book and start drafting it and not overthink. Because what I prefer to do, are you a fan of drafting or revising?
Revising.
That's everybody but me. I love drafting. Yeah. Because revising is like the puzzle thinking part. And I don't want to think.
Oh, to me, the revising almost feels like lazier because I'm like, I already did all the work of like thinking of the characters and the plot, and now I get to work with that.
That's true, but in revising, you have to change the plot always.
True.
And then you've got to make everything better. And then you're like, well, I've got to move things around. I love drafting a novel, so I find a lot of joy in that. But that means that I'm also like kind of a precious drafter, and I try to make it sound good, and if I don't like it, I'll go back and change it. And so it takes me kind of a long time to draft. And if you're on a deadline, you just don't have that luxury. So I do outline for the most part. However, this book, it's actually nuts because it's so much. I just wrote it. I was just like, just start writing it. And I had a very good idea of the story in my head, like the loose shape of it. And I just followed that instinct. And I always usually know how a book will begin and end. Like I know always. It's just the middle that's like the hard part. And I know the character arc usually, but that often changes as I get to know my character. So for me, the way into my book is to write it. I can't sit there trying to like organize, make too many notes or do like, there's like this idea people have of authors, and maybe you are one of them, but you have a whiteboard or a cork board and you're like, and Pinterest boards. And I'm like, no, I just start writing it. Cause to me, that's like busy work that doesn't actually help me. For me, I'm like, I have to like just start it and like get into the world, figure out how they talk, the voice of the book, the tone, and the world comes to me that way. And then either it's pretty good and I keep going, or it's not good and I'll go back and change it. Or I'm like, I'm doing NaNoWriMo, so throwback. No, this book I wrote during NaNoWriMo. So I wrote 50,000 words of this first draft of this book in 1 month.
What?
Yeah. I was like, that's what I mean by this was one of those magical books that was in my head, and I did not need to outline it. Granted, it has changed a lot since that draft, and then it changed a lot once I sold it. But I knew what the book was, and I feel pretty lucky that all my books, I've never had to do a rewrite, like a whole rewrite.
Yeah.
I've never had to change the story. It's always what I originally envisioned. It's just all the details that might be changed here and there. And then like for me, it's always the work of like making it deeper, go deeper, 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 and deeper, and make it more than what it is. And so that's what I do in revision, and that's why it's hard for me.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is the hard part.
Yeah, I always feel like the first draft is like the skeleton, and the second draft is like putting the meat on the bones. Maybe that's kind of a dark.
No. Oh, yeah. It's just like the flesh, and then when the
flesh.
skin is like the copy edits.
Yeah.
And the clothes are, oh my God, this is such a good
The cover.
analogy. Yeah, so that's my process for the most part, but it is very different book to book.
You mentioned reading a lot of books during the pandemic. Are there any ones you loved in particular? And are there any books coming out soon that you've gotten a chance to read early that you're excited about?
Any books you read during the pandemic that you particularly loved, or books that are coming out soon that you're excited for?
So who I fell in love with during, I fell in love with historical romance during the pandemic, so I became a huge Lisa Kleypas, Sarah MacLean, Tessa Dare fan. So I basically read all their books and I have nothing left. And it's so sad. And then, so those are the ones that kind of stood out to me with historical. And, Alyssa Cole, oh my God. So many. And now I have read an early copy of Annabelle Moynihan's new book. Dolly. God, I get the name wrong. So I'm like, Dolly all the time. Dolly by her name. I don't know. It's like such a cute title, but it's Dolly something.
I think it's Dolly all the time.
Dolly all the
Maybe I'm
time.
wrong.
Is it Dolly all the time?
Well, that was what I thought when you said the new Annabelle Moynihan.
Okay.
So
Okay. It's super cute. I mean, I just love her books. She's an auto buy for me, and we have the same editor. And so, I mean, honestly, that was a huge reason why I went with my editor. I'm like, you're Annabelle's editor?
Yeah.
Okay. Then so Annabelle blurbed this book, and then I blurbed Dolly, which I was like, you're asking me? And Annabelle's like, she's been so lovely. She's been like posting about my book. She's been very, very generous. So that's, you guys will love that. I think it might be one of my top 2 or 3 of her books after like Nora, because Nora's my favorite. Nora's just like
perfect.
classic.
Yeah.
Nora. No, Nora's not an age gap. I don't know why. Oh, that's a celebrity romance. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see what else. I haven't read anything. That's the one that sticks out. An early copy that I read. I also really love, and I'm reading August Lane. I don't know if you've heard of that book. That's a romance. And I just finished Tessa Bailey's newest. I just love her sports romance series. Tessa Bailey is just like cranks them out, so reliable. I'm like, here we go, another one. Da, 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 da. She's very spicy. My books are not as spicy as hers, but I'm reading a lot of books all the time. My Kindle is like so dangerous because it's like I finished this. Oh well, it's midnight. I'm just gonna download the next one
Might as well.
Yeah, I feel
Clearly you don't need sleep, as we learned from your
my
schedule over the past couple days.
No, something's gonna happen soon. Any other questions? Oh,
From our virtual audience,
Oh.
Someone asked, what is the best piece of writing advice you've ever received, and what advice would you yourself give to writers just starting out?
What is the best piece of writing advice you've ever received, and what advice would you give to writers just starting out?
okay. So I don't know if this is writing advice, but it was kind of like career advice that I was given when my first book came out such a long time ago, and it was my very first like panel ever. So it was just first other than my own book launch. So it's with a bunch of like very seasoned YA authors. They were all like famous big name authors, and I was so nervous. And I think I kind of talked about myself and my book in a self-deprecating manner. And afterwards, one of the authors, the late great Ned Vicini, was on that panel with me, and he pulled me aside and he's like, you know what? If you are authentic to yourself, the readers will find you, because they're just gonna like you as you are. And I remember thinking like, okay, but that has been so true. Like for me, I have never wavered from who I am, like in my books. I've never written for a trend. I've never cared about the market, and honestly, like if an editor didn't want to buy my book, I'm not going to change it for anyone. It was like, okay, well then I'm just going to, this is like the book I want. And not only that, but like how I am for events, like I don't prepare. I just like to talk to people and be normal. And I feel like that candid kind of like just being myself has really served me. And I think about Ned all the time. He was like so kind to do that. So that was the best advice I could have as a working author, I think, like an author persona, and like, having those kind of self-conscious or negative voices in your head, that it really helped me with that. And then the writing advice, it's very boring, but it's truly the only writing advice anyone needs, is that you should read a lot, and then you can be a better writer. I've never taken a fiction writing class, a workshop, or anything like that. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just saying that because I read so many books that like, I just knew how to write a book. Not perfect, probably not good, but I knew the shape of a book and like what needed to happen for me as a reader to want to read it, And so, not only that, but when you read a lot of books, you kind of figure out like what you want to do and what you don't want to do. And, you find out what keeps the reader interested, what bores you. And personally, I write for that person that's like me, my reader. It's just someone that likes to read the books I like to read. So, that is the best advice I could give, because yeah, you can go to school, and I would highly recommend like taking workshops or anything if you have writing groups and friends like that. But I do think at the most basic level, you have to read a lot of books. I said that once at like a reading club thing with a bunch of teenagers, and the mom came up to me, was like, I'm so glad you said that. My daughter won't read and she wants to be a writer. I'm like, well, you better tell her. You got to read to be a writer.
Yeah, you can't be a writer if you don't
I'm like,
read.
you can write other things, but not books. Yeah. I think, is that it?
Other questions? Oh,
Oh.
another one?
Universal one. Do you have a dream fan cast for your lovely characters?
I do, but because like of Hollywood and the fact that it might happen, I cannot say. Because you don't want to be like, like Julia Roberts, and it's like, oops, we couldn't get Julia Roberts, and now the person that wants to do it's not going to want to do it anymore. Obviously, it's not Julia Roberts.
Look, that would be a
I
twist.
know. What if she came out to be like, what if I can play Cassia Park? I'd be like, I'm so torn.
I'm flattered, but no.
Yeah, but no, sorry.
She could executive produce if she wants.
Oh my God, she could be like a client. Oh, there's a.
She could be
remember I
the
have a
celebrity client. Yeah.
Client in there. Yeah. Okay, Julia, I'm
All
here.
right.
I have a question.
Oh.
If you could pick the perfect setting, someone sits and reads your book, the tea they're drinking, the music they're listening to, the location they're at, where are you envisioning them sitting and reading this book?
What's the perfect setting for somebody to read this book?
I've never been asked that question, but that is so fun. Okay, if you are a drinker, you need to have a crisp glass of white wine, frosty and so cold. And I love like a cozy reading nook, like in a window. However, I know this book is coming out in winter. So okay, read it by a fire with a glass of wine. Or save it for summertime, or read it again in the summer. By a pool in Ojai. Yeah. Ojai is a town in California. And I was going to have her go to Ojai in the book, but I'm like, I did too many like millennial lady things already. She's already like going to Joshua Tree and like, I'm like, okay.
You can save it for the next one.
Yeah, this is like a perfect pool. I love reading by the pool, and I actually not by the pool. I like to be submerged in the water. I'm like that person that's like half out on the stairs reading the book, because I also like, I'm not scared of the sun, even though I should be. Yeah.
Do we have more time? Should we wrap it up?
If we've got one more question, we can take that one more question.
Well, I have one more question, if nobody
Oh,
else.
okay.
The age gap relationship is a thing in this book.
Yes, it is.
And I feel like the older woman, younger man has become like very hot recently. What do you think so appealing about it?
I think it is an act of subversion a little bit for women, because we have seen the other age gap, right? Daddy books. That's something I discovered. I was like, oh, in the middle of the night on my Kindle, I'm like, oh, what's this? That's hot too. I get it. But I think that there is okay. So how do I explain this? I don't think we're women my age are the first to think of this, but I do think that we are the first ones that are openly talking about things like perimenopause. And like I said, we are also women that are not being told we're too old to do anything anymore. We're kind of, for better, for worse, are like, you can still, you're still figuring yourself out in your 40s too, right? So I do think there's a little bit of like that involved, which means basically the connection to me is women rediscovering themselves and being free of conventions and feeling like they have freedom, which also means like, why can't we also date younger men? By the way, if you are single right now and you're like in your 40s and 50s, you have way more luck dating younger guys on the dating apps than men your age. It is actually insane. My girlfriend's stories. I'm like, what? Because I think that these younger crop of dudes that are now approaching 30 or in their mid to late 20s, they don't really care about age. And I think that men our age, I'm not going to lump you with me, but men my age are still hung up on that a little bit, this like kind of patriarchal like nonsense. So I do think there are more younger guys now willing to date older women, so it's not strange. It's not like a weird thing. And I also think it's like, and I don't know if it's like a trend in literature or storytelling and movies and stuff, but I do think it's just like a taboo that isn't, it's just not as, it's not just titillating. I think it's like, I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of wish fulfillment-y, like, the book with the Anne Hathaway.
The Idea of You.
The Idea of You.
Yeah.
That one's very wish fulfillment because he's like a Harry Styles, whatever, right? And he's like a famous person.
Jet setting to like various beautiful places.
And I feel like that's like the obvious first, like, okay, first wave of like these age gap. But then I think now it's, it's actually very possible that a woman would date a younger man, and it's not that strange anymore. So I do think it's fun. It's just kind of fun to be like, we're subverting this stereotype a little bit. But it's also pretty realistic. I've been shocked at my friends' dating stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, it's the young guys that hit on you in public. I'm like, what? That is so bold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for you, young
Yeah,
man.
good for you.
Well, this has been so fun to talk with you about this, and I can't wait for everybody to read it because it really is wonderful.
Oh gosh, thank you so much. And also, you can get both of our books here.
Oh, yes. True.
Thank you. Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you all so much for being here, and thank you to our virtual audience for joining as well. We are going to take just a moment to reset the space. If you need to purchase a copy, you know where they are. They're upstairs. Take these two lovely folks back here to our green room while we reset. If you're willing and able to set your chair to the side, we would super appreciate that. And we'll start the line kind of where this door is right here. If you want to start there and then work your way backward, that'd be great. Thanks so much for being here.